Geopol is going to be the topic du jour, at least for a considerable amount of time longer. In terms of this additional funding, we can assume probably incredibly likely that it does see passage through. In your mind, does it make a significant difference into, for example, the ongoing war in Ukraine in terms of, 60 billion? Would this turn the tide at all in terms of your expectations?
Well, it has a huge number of implications on a huge number of different fronts. But if we're zooming in just on that one, it's an enormous amount of money. It's an enormous amount of military equipment, which apparently is locked and loaded. If you read reports from people on the ground, they'll tell you that the next few weeks are still likely to be very difficult because Russia had been thinking this could potentially happen. None of the stuff will arrive for a few weeks at least, and Ukraine is already on the back foot. So Russia is likely to push forward very aggressively right now to, try and gain as much ground as it can before those military supplies come in. But if they do arrive on the scale that's now being promised, it's certainly, and you've got Ukraine, of course, passing a conscription law, which is done too. That certainly resets the equation. At the very, very least, we're back to that grinding, stasis that we were in before, where neither side can push forward, or it gives a short-term advantage to Ukraine, and then forces Russia to up the ante and to move even deeper into what is effectively already a war economy.
And that's exactly what I wanted to ask you about, because I'm not, casting any aspersions over the affordation of that money to Ukraine. But in terms of what this does, and I suppose you alluded to that a little bit, the geopolitical risk just becomes even more heightened because, like you mentioned, we are seeing Russia on the offensive. I go through the alerts and I see, every day that you'll get 10 or so at least. There'll be a strike in Donetsk, there'll be a strike here, there, or everywhere that no one really talks about. But with Ukraine getting bolstered, this would have to, increase the geopolitical risk considerably, whether or not markets effectively price it or not, no?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's going to increase the level of violence on the ground there because that's what military force is designed to do. But I think, to be honest, that's the wrong way of looking at it, because if this bill doesn't pass in its current form, and Ukraine doesn't or wasn't going to get the aid that it's now going to, it seems, geopolitical risk wouldn't be any lower. It would just be different. It would just mean that Russia would have the upper hand rather than temporarily Ukraine. And all the risks that we still see, which are spoken to very eloquently in various different financial media over the past couple of days by, pretty important talking heads on this topic, are making clear that this isn't going to go away. It's something I've been flagging since 2017, 2018. It's not something that's a story for one quarter or one half or 1 year. And regardless of who has the upper hand in Russia, Ukraine, it's going to just get worse.